Okay, before we finish up here, we have to talk about two cycles. One is the uterine or menstrual cycle. These are the cyclic changes that occur in the endometrium being the outer wall of the uterus. When we produce these hormones, both female cycles, there's two different cycles. Both cycles occur at about 28 days in length. That's an average. Ovulation occurs about midway through the cycle, and that is day 14. So here are the stages of the menstrual cycle, or the uterine cycle. We have a menstrual phase, a proliferation stage, and then a secretory stage. The menstrual phase is about 1 to 5 days. During this time, bleeding occurs for about 3 to 5 days, and about day 5, the growing ovarian follicles are producing more estrogen inside the ovaries. Okay, get that. Then we have at day from 6 to 14, we got the regeneration of the endometrium. Estrogen is going to go up, and then ovulation occurs at this stage. As it moves on to the next stage, from 15 to 28 days, levels of progesterone rise, the endometrium fills up with blood, it gets ready for implantation. If implantation doesn't occur, then what's going to happen is the embryo produces a hormone that causes the corpus luteum to continue producing its hormone. If it is fertilized, if it is not fertilized, then the corpus luteum degenerates, and that's the end of it. Then sloughing off occurs, the menses occurs, and then the cycle begins all over again. Now, remember that I told you before, the corpus luteum helps to produce hormones to help with the implantation process and the keeping of the egg in the uterus if it is fertilized. And you can see the fluctuation levels of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, of estrogen and progesterone. There's a lot going on in here. What happens, this is what's going on in the actual ovary, and then this one is what's happening in the uterus. So there's a lot going on here. The hormones that are produced by the ovaries are the estrogen and the progesterone. The estrogens are produced by the follicle cells. They cause secondary sex cells, sex characteristics, the enlargement of accessory organs, the development of breasts, the appearance of pubic hair, fat beneath the skin, widening and lightening of the pelvis, all of those things in order to provide for pregnancy. Then we have progesterone. This is produced by the corpus luteum. Remember, that is after the follicle, the egg, the oocyte, the secondary oocyte breaks out of the follicle. It turns into the corpus luteum, which then produces progesterone. Production continues until luteinizing hormone diminishes in the blood, and then menses occurs. If not, then it's going to help, the progesterone is going to help maintain the pregnancy and also prepare the breast for milk production. So you can see again this. Next up we have the mammary glands. They're present in both sexes. Remember, they are modified sweat glands, but they're only functional in females. Their job is to produce milk, and they're stimulated by the sex hormones. There's lots of different parts. I'm not going to go through every single part, but make sure that you know that in the female, they're going to produce milk, and in a male, we're not quite sure exactly what they do in males. They definitely, of course, do not produce milk. Females go through, it's recommended every 2 years for a female from the age of 40 to 49 years old to go through a mammogram. Now it says here 2 years, but I think that's been changed to yearly from the age of 40 on. This is where they can detect breast cancer. It doesn't do a great job, but it's the only defense that we have to making sure that we can get early detection. As you can see here, this is the machine. It puts it x-rays the breast in order to determine if there's any odd tissues, and if there is, then a person reading the x-rays can, go to the next step. Stages of pregnancy, there are fertilization, embryonic development, fetal development, and then childbirth. The oocyte is viable about 12 to 24 hours after ovulation, and sperm are viable from 24 to 48 hours after ejaculation. So for fertilization to occur, sexual intercourse must occur no more than 2 days before ovulation and no later than 24 hours after. So there's a very kind of a small window there for fertilization to occur, but it seems to be fairly easy to get pregnant for most women. Sperm cells must make their way to the uterine tube for fertilization to be possible. So when the sperm reach the oocyte, the enzymes will break down and they will get into the egg, and the membrane receptors in the oocyte pull the head in of the first sperm cell to make contact, and the membrane in the oocyte does not permit a second sperm then to enter. So the oocyte then undergoes a second meiosis division to form the ovum and a polar body. Then fertilization occurs when the genetic material of the sperm combines with that of the oocyte to form a zygote. So the zygote is then called the first new cell of the new individual. At that point, rapid mitosis occurs. We've got cleavage, where we have all these different stages. Pregnancy would be the period from conception until birth, and there's all sorts of changes that would occur in the female, not only in the uterus, but also we'll go through those in the next set of slides.